going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Brothers After Dark. This will be episode 2, and I got a special guest. I'm grateful that he came on. And my man, he's a writer. He's co-founder of Collab Creations, and his name is Matt Loisel. How you doing, Matt?
Good, JP. How are you?
I'm good. Where you located at?
I am in what is right now sunny Salinas, California.
Yeah, California.
Where are you?
Boston, Massachusetts, where the weather just one day it could be rainy, one day it could be sunny, the next day it's snowing.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, it was raining yesterday.
Oh, okay.
But I won't tell you how nice it is right now.
Oh, it's probably really nice right now.
I just went on a walk.
I wish I could have went on a walk today. It rained all day. It was like the weather was crazy. It was just a lot of raining and the house was shaking. It was just one of those days you just stay inside. It was bad. We're in California.
So Salinas is like you'd call it Central Coast.
Okay.
So it's probably the closest landmark would be Santa Cruz.
Oh.
So we're about 2 hours south of San Francisco.
Oh, okay. I've been to LA, so like Inglewood and Compton area.
Okay.
And that's really it. But I want to go back. My grandfather used to live there, and we used to travel to his house all the time. It was so nice. It was always sunny, and so
yeah,
I actually go back.
And I grew up in LA actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I my wife and I met in LA. She's from up here.
Nice.
When she's smarter than me. She graduated college before me.
Nice. What'd you go to school for?
Well, I studied communication.
Okay.
It's kind of like what all the jocks and the people who don't know what they're doing study.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she graduated before me, and I followed her up here.
Okay.
And I'm never going back, JD.
Oof. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I spoke to a couple of people that used to live in Boston. They went to California and then they moved back just because of family, not because they hated it.
Right.
And they always be like, I miss it. Massachusetts is always snowing. I miss California. Like through all the seasons, it's always sunny. And I just like, I hate you so much.
Well, I got cousins actually. I have family in Chicago.
Oh wow.
And so I know how to be sensitive about weather and talking about weather.
Right.
I want to say it snowed in Chicago yesterday or 2 days ago.
Probably. Sounds about right. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. But we could jump right into it. I want to talk about, how did you get into writing?
Yeah. So before comic books, I'll tell you this. I don't even think I ever completed a creative writing assignment in high school or college or anything.
Wow.
So yeah, it all kind of, the seed kind of planted, pun intended, when my wife and I were farming.
Okay.
So before doing this, we ran a organic farm for a couple years, and we thought about putting together a comic book, maybe doing it with like pictures instead of artwork.
Okay.
So that our customers could meet us and could meet our employees and kind of see like how we work together and see who's growing their food.
Okay.
And in the process, my wife and I, over a couple beers, started to kick around some kind of crazy ideas, and eventually that evolved into murder. And so we gave up farming. It was way too much. I had a full-time job, and we were small time, but small time is huge.
Yeah.
So we were doing 3 acres, and it was just too much with a full-time job. So when we quit, I suddenly had a lot of free time, and I started to kick around this idea, for murder, and and so kind of one thing led to another, and here we are, 2 issues later.
Wow. That's crazy. That's so with me, I don't want to say I'm in the same boat, but me and my cousins, we always like shoot around ideas, and we like he has a project and I have a couple of projects, and I'm trying to decide if I want to make it into a comic book. And
Uh-huh.
it's a process. It's a process. And then like I'll start writing and then I'll stop for like a
Uh-huh.
couple of months, and then my cousin be like, JD, really? You're not writing no more? And then I'm like, all right, I gotta go back and I start writing again.
There
So
you
I'm
go.
in the process of writing a couple of projects. I gotta stop doing multiple ones and just do one and then move on to
Uh-huh.
the next.
Hmm.
But I got a couple in there. But can you talk about like the difficulties of making your comic book?
Where do I start? Well, for one, I definitely had that exact same problem. Uh, Too many different ideas, and I had too many, irons in the fire,
Hmm.
and so eventually, I had to whittle it down to murder,
Okay.
and I'm happy I did, because it's slow going already.
Yeah.
When you got a full-time job and you're trying to write and then self-publish, and promote online, it's a lot. It's a lot of moving parts. So yeah, that was definitely a big challenge. Then probably the other challenge is just as a self publisher is financing the whole
Hmm.
operation. Finance is something that I definitely didn't think too much about getting into it, and just kind of had to learn it along the way.
Okay.
So what we've done so far is kickstarted the whole project. So we've done 3 Kickstarters, 2 for issue 1 and 1 for issue 2, and all of them have funded successfully.
Nice. Nice.
Uh-huh. And so I'm currently working on the script for issue 3. Once
Nice.
I get the script done, oh, and issue 3 is going to be so good, man.
Nice.
It's going to be so
Keep
good.
me in the loop. I'm so interested in your comic books. I cannot wait to read them.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So yeah, the financing, probably the next hardest thing with, once you get the project into focus,
Hmm.
and it's how you're going to fund it. And then I guess 3 is finding time. you
Yeah.
know um I'm sure you got a day job.
Yeah.
I do too. And it's a lot. I mean, literally, actually, I'm gonna get in trouble from my boss because I've been getting calls from work
Oh.
since we started talking.
Oh
So
man.
hey, it's worth it.
Okay.
It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So yeah, finding time is the other challenge. And so what I've now I kind of have a rhythm, um, where I I wake up every morning,
Okay.
4 in the morning, and I start work at 7:30.
Hmm.
So I like to research in the morning.
Okay.
Um,
Because there's
you
no
know,
one like bothering, no distractions, no
nope,
nothing. Yeah.
nope. I'm not getting work calls,
Yes.
right? But my mind's not. I'm not a morning person either.
I'm not either. I am not.
Yeah, I am not either. I know maybe you heard 4 in the morning and you're like, oh, well, this guy's cut from a different cloth. I am not. Nothing special about me except
Yeah.
that I have an alarm. So what I like to do is I like to read in the morning,
Okay.
whether it's comics or it's whatever, in the case of murder, anything that's topical.
Okay.
Or I'm working on a new story, one that's going to take place in colonial India, actually.
Nice. Okay.
And So I've been reading a lot about that, a lot about colonialism, and kind of the history behind that, and what really happened. And so I'll research in the morning. I work until about 4 o'clock, although currently it's 6 o'clock and I'm getting calls.
Okay.
Um, and and then I'll try to do a little writing after work, and then spend time with my wife. Um, it's just us and the cats.
Okay.
Um, and then my wife. I, there's a couple of different ways I've described her to herself as far as sleep. I've never
Hmm.
met anyone who loves sleep like she does. I mean, she's like passionate about it. It's like, you sleep, it's like you're dead. I mean, it's not like an experience, but she like loves it.
Yeah.
And so, and like she sleeps a lot. So, um, she'll go to bed and I'll stay up at least an hour,
Okay.
maybe two, knowing that I got to get up early the next morning. And so I'll try to write then also. Um, but you know, it, I got a good program for me.
Okay.
This works really well for me.
So basically what you do is you research and you get your ideas. So like, um, if you're not you want so let's say you want to place somewhere and you don't have enough information, or you do more
Hmm.
research, and that's
Hmm.
where you bounce your ideas off and stuff like that. Oh, it's a good idea.
Hmm.
It's a good idea. I
Hmm.
should start
Hmm.
implementing that, and my routine: wake up a little bit early and just research and read and get the ideas flowing. Do you talk to other people, bounce ideas off of other people, see if they think that's good or different perspective from some other
Yeah,
people?
yeah. So there's a couple of things that I do. One, I have a couple friends that are in the industry,
Okay.
and so and that have been in it longer than I have been. And so having their ear is definitely helpful. So to your listeners, make friends.
Okay.
Friends are very helpful.
All right.
um, the other thing, and this was at the suggestion of my editor, was that I have a couple of sensitivity readers
Okay.
too, and then also what are called beta readers.
Mm,
So a beta reader is just really anybody who's going to give you a fresh set of eyes on your script, right? So so I got a couple of buddies. The guy that runs a comic book shop here in town,
okay.
I drop off a script, whenever I have one, and get some, get his feedback. Um, and then, like for example, with murder, um, you know, most of our characters are black,
Okay.
and I'm not black. You can see that. Your viewers probably could gather from my voice. I don't know, but um, but so I'm writing about black men and women,
Hmm.
and I want to make sure that I get it right.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I'm not maybe missing a cultural idiom,
Yeah.
not understanding something, maybe putting in something that's insensitive that that I just miss.
Yeah.
um, and so I have a couple of sensitivity readers that some of them um, some of them are also vegan, which is a big part of my characters.
Okay.
um, you know, uh, all of our main characters are vegans and animal rights activists, and so having that kind of very unique point of view of being black and vegan
Hmm.
is really helpful to me. So to get that feedback, I've learned a lot just from hearing what they say about my script.
Okay. That's that's nice. Wow. So since you've been talking a lot about murder, I'm curious. Briefly talk about how did you come up with the name, and briefly just talk about murder, just the background and stuff.
Sure. So murder is kind of I guess I would call it a kind of an action horror comic book.
That's what
And
brought me to it.
yep. And so to spoil just the very first scene
Okay.
in the first comic book, um, or let me set up the premise.
Okay.
So worldwide, domesticated animals are connecting telepathically, one species at a time. So the chickens, the cows, they're able to hear each other's thoughts.
Okay.
We can't hear their thoughts, right? The only person that can hear them is our hero, the butcher's butcher.
Okay.
So only one human can hear them. And so we kind of follow his path as he basically navigates this world that is about to rapidly change.
Okay.
And so in the opening scene of issue 1, we basically have a bull aided by the butcher's butcher going to the corporate headquarters of the world's largest meatpacking facility and murdering the CEO. So then we back up, and that's when kind of the comic book kind of, the story unfolds, where we
Yeah.
back up 2 years and you get to see how we got to that point.
All right.
So the concept to the title, I mean, for one, there's of course the song "Meat is Murder"
Yeah.
by the Smiths, but also, I want to play around with this idea. Well, if these animals are linking telepathically and they're doing things like killing people,
Mm-hmm.
if it's okay for people to kill them, is it okay for them to kill people? And is it murder? If you're not protected from the law, if you're not protected from, you know, being murdered,
Yeah.
is it even possible to murder? And so that's the rabbit hole that we find ourselves in.
Nice. 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 So when you was making the comic book, how did you put it together? I think you was telling me you had to find someone to do the drawings. So
Hmm.
how'd you do that?
Hmm. So it all started with the script. I wrote the script, 22 pages of comic art. Issue 2 actually is 26 pages. We wanted it to be a little bit bigger. Um, and so once I had the script, I basically started reaching out to artists. I'd find them on Instagram. I would find them on DeviantArt.
Okay.
There's obviously a lot on Deviant.
Yeah, there is.
And then there were a couple of other ones. Maybe I can, off the top of my head, I can't remember the websites, but I can go back and look, and maybe you
Okay.
can post it, the link in the
Yeah, sure, sure. I'll
description.
do that.
But there's several message boards that artists, go to,
Okay.
and will post their stuff, especially comic book artists. So eventually, it's kind of this. It's kind of like you're pitching at the same time as you are hiring.
Yeah, okay.
So artists are interesting people. They like, if I would say, the majority of artists, if they're not interested in your project, they're probably not going to take your project.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to convince them that they want to work for me.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm trying to vet them and decide, will they make a good artist? Is their page rate reasonable? So there's kind of two ways that you can structure it. One would be work for hire, and the other would be a co-creatorship.
Okay.
And everything I do with contracts. That's something that I learned just from reading books about writing comic books
Okay.
and kind of the industry. So you can either do basically a page rate, where you own all of everything that gets put out, that's all your intellectual property,
Mm-hmm.
and you pay the artist per page based off of whatever they want to charge. And once you're done, you're done. They don't they get credit, of course, but then that's it. They don't own this comic book. The other way you can do it is a co-creatorship, where basically, you're not paying them a page rate, and they own whatever you agree with, whether it's half of the title or a quarter of the title or three-quarters of the title, whatever you negotiate. So with Murder, I do a work for hire with artists from Argentina,
Mm.
Emiliano Coria, and I found him on Instagram,
Nice.
of all places.
Wow. That's crazy. The funny thing is, I ask for my audience, but I also ask for myself because I can't draw at all. I'm horrible at drawing. I'm horrible. So once I finish my project, it's one thing that I have issue with is how to convey to someone else what I have in my head so they can picture it themselves. So like what I have in my head, I want to say it and like, hey, this is what I have in my head. Can you draw that? So I'm trying to work on that type of communication, but I can't draw at all. So I was curious to know how you did it, because I haven't read your comic book, but I looked at the pictures on Instagram and I'm like, wow, that artist, whoever did that, did a really good job.
Yeah. So for one, it all goes back to the script. So, and maybe let me explain the script just in case your readers, are curious. So there is a specific format for writing comic book scripts, and there are different schools and different people, different writers have different styles, but essentially what you have is, for each comic book page, you break it down into the number of panels.
All right.
Right? Which is very important for comic books, of course, because that controls the pacing. The more panels you put on a page, the smaller each panel will be.
All right.
So the less detail that you can ask from your artist, right? So each page will have, let's say page 1, and we'll do 5 panels, right? So you put that on top, then you have each panel, you do panel 1, and then you describe to your artist exactly what you want from them.
Okay.
So you'll do, I like to do camera angles. So start with the camera angle, right?
Yeah.
High shot, low shot, bird's eye view, worm's eye view. Is it a medium shot? Is it a far shot? Is it a long shot? Is it an establishing shot? And these you can Google. That's how I started, is Googling, basically cinematic, different cinematic shots. So then you describe exactly what you want the panel to be.
All right.
The conventional knowledge is that you want to limit your description to 3 sentences.
Okay.
So you want to say what's going on in 3 sentences. And everything that I've read has said, put as little detail as possible, and only what is necessary, so that your artist can fill in the blanks, right? But my favorite comic book writer is Alan Moore. I absolutely love Alan Moore. Watchmen, V for Vendetta.
Watchmen was really, really good. I think it's better than the movie, to me.
Which one? The series?
Yeah. I didn't watch the series yet.
Oh my God.
It's good.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Oh.
I loved that series. I absolutely loved it. Okay. So you think the comic is better than the movie?
Than the movie, yeah, the old movie. But now you're talking about the series. Now I have to watch it. I have to watch it.
God, I love that series so much. I freaking loved it. It got a little slow in the middle, so you may, get to a point where you're kind of like, well, get to it. But man, I
Oh,
fucking love that series.
I seen the trailer. I was so hyped. I was like, oh man. And I just been, work, life gets in the way. So I
Yep.
haven't had time to sit down and watch it. But now that you're saying that it's good, I
Yeah,
have,
yeah, yeah.
I have to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Alan Moore, who wrote, the original Watchmen, I
Yeah.
don't even know what year he wrote it. I want to say it's late 80s.
Okay.
But he famously writes long descriptions for each panel with every little detail that's in there.
Mm-hmm.
He's putting, he's telling his artist, there's a pen on the desk and, there's 15 books on the shelf and, he's telling them everything.
Okay.
So, I try to keep it as minimal as possible. In part because I trust Emiliano. Letting him off the leash a little bit has worked really well for me. But if I can think of details that I think would be important, um, then just little things, maybe little metaphorical items or details that are going to be recurring through the whole comic book.
All right.
Those little things I will note. So you have the description of the panel, and then you have the dialogue, and whatever the dialogue in whatever order that you want your letterer to lay out,
Yeah.
that's what you put in your script, and so that's what it starts with. Unless it was drawn, written and drawn by an artist,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they just go off the top of their head. um those more talented than you and I. But generally, even artists will at least have some kind of outline, and at least have some kind of like panel count per page, because otherwise, you got to get the pacing right. And if you kind of go in without a plan,
Yeah.
even if you're the artist, it's not necessarily going to work out.
Oh man. So yeah, I got a long way to go. I got a long process. I got to finish my script, and I got to get the work done. So
Yeah.
I want to talk about so if there was anyone listening right now, where would you tell this person to start if they wanted to create a comic book?
I would say start with a good plan.
Okay.
So don't jump into a script until you have an outline.
All right.
So my process is, you know, I kind of am putting together scenes in my head.
Okay.
Let's just say, for example, for one issue, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of have a general idea in your head what you want to happen, right? Well, then I'll structure it with an outline. So the way I look at it is, you kind of you have a multi-issue story arc
Yeah.
that you want to kind of have a beginning, middle, and end, and then each issue has to have its own story arc, and
All right.
each issue should have a beginning, middle, and end. And so what I try to do is, maybe for the first 5 pages, you got the setup. So you set the tone, you set the
Mm-hmm.
kind of the trajectory of the whole story. You kind of set, what are your characters after, or who's after your characters. Then for the next maybe 15 pages, you're ratcheting up the tension. You're
Okay.
ratcheting up the action. You're building the story. So you want the story to come to a crescendo, and then the last, say, 2 to 5 pages, you have the resolution.
All right.
And if you put in all this work into a script without having an outline and a good idea of your beginning, middle, and end, you're going to put a lot of work in, and you're going to realize that this thing doesn't flow right.
Yeah.
And so I would say, you know, and this is supposing that you have an idea,
Yeah,
right? You already have the concept
of
for your
course.
comic
Yeah.
book. So yeah, I would say start with a outline,
Okay.
start with a skeleton for your story, and then really building off of that, building a script off of that is relatively simple because all of the heavy lifting has kind of already been done.
Okay.
um, what I'll do even between the script and the outline is I'll maybe lay out like how many panels per page also,
All right.
so that you have kind of an idea of the pacing. If you have, and it's not a hard rule, but if you have less panels, the pacing is going to be quicker because the people are going to read that page faster,
Okay.
right? If you have 12 panels, like a bunch of panels, well, they're going to have to go with every beat, and it's going to slow down your story. So having some idea of the panel count based off of what's happening in that scene
Yeah.
also will help you as you go into the script and start to actually look at, well, what's going to be in each individual panel.
All right. So I have another question, but it's to put my cousin on blast. Shout out to Mo. So he's stuck on, and it drives me crazy. He's stuck on like the location. He's trying to do like how like the Game of Thrones or like any place they have like a map.
Yeah.
He's stuck on that part, and I'm like, bro, get away from the map and write the script. He's like, no, I need the location. I need the location. I need the location. What do you think he should do? Like like a person, if they get stuck in a particular part, what do you think they should do? You think they should walk away for a couple of days and come back and do the script, or do you think they should really focus on that specific part?
I try not to. I may, Mo, I'm sorry, but I may have to side with JD here. Um, if because I can get into those cycles too.
Okay.
It may not be a map. I mean, in the case of murder, this is just our world. There's
Okay.
not really any, I do have to understand different locations, and I've placed different scenes in different places.
All right.
We have a scene in Sacramento, and we have a scene in Arkansas, and
Nice.
but I'm not making any of that up. That's part of research. That's
Yeah.
part of just understanding, where different things are. Um, and I see that a lot. The whole map thing. It's a real thing. Like in our community, I don't know what it is, but it's a thing. Like it's just like I don't know what it is, but I do see that a lot. So your cousin's not alone.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, you can get stuck spinning your wheels,
Yeah.
and I will get that way too. Maybe not about a map or something like that,
Yeah.
but I can get that way with dialogue.
Okay.
For me, I can get stuck in a conversation and I can just get so frustrated, and it doesn't seem natural to me, or it's not building the tension like I like it, and I
Okay.
can't think of, well, what would these characters say, and you kind of get stuck in this circular thinking where no new ideas are coming. I mean,
And
you're
that's
thinking and thinking and thinking, just like this map. I mean, how long has he been working on this map? I mean, what's what is the hang up? I mean, what why is it taking so long?
he's because he wants it to be perfect, and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
bro, just leave it alone and go back to it later and just
Hmm.
finish the script. Just finish it.
Yeah. Perfection is fine. Perfection is the goal, but if you get too perfect now, or you get to it later, you'll get to it, but it might take a lot longer if you dig your heels in, and you're not stimulating your mind in a way that you're going to get there.
Yeah.
So I walk away. I just work on something else.
Okay. All right.
Whether it's doing research, or if there's another scene that I can work on, or it's just shifting the outline around, shifting the scenes around, something. I'll tinker with something else so that I don't get locked in.
Okay.
I'm not saying I don't get locked in, but I'm
Yeah.
saying this is what I try to do.
All right. So I have a couple of more questions. Oh, personal question. What comics do you faithfully read?
What comics do I faithfully read? Right now, I have on my pool list, which I cannot get because we are currently in shelter in place, and so I don't know how it ends. But I was reading Greg Rucka's Lois Lane.
Oh, okay.
That is a that's a bad old comic.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. It's very very um, pertinent
Okay.
to what's happening right now. He's really taken Lois Lane and put her into what's happening with journalists right now,
All right.
and with the suppression of journalism that's pretty much going on worldwide. Um, so that's what's on my pool list right now. Um, my good friend Alex Schumacher has a web series, and he's actually getting published right now.
Okay,
It's
nice.
he has kind of a satirical serial comic called Mr. Butterchips.
Okay.
It's a drunk monkey.
Sounds
And
interesting. It
yeah,
sounds interesting. Yeah.
it's really funny. He's very pissed. Talks a lot of shit about Donald Trump.
Hmm.
So I enjoy it immensely. Um, so as far as web comics, that's my mainstay. Um, and then lately what I've been doing is kind of been going back and reading older comics,
Yeah.
stuff from when we were kids that I didn't read.
So with me, when I was
uh
younger, I used to read comic books like crazy. And then I hit an age, I think it was probably like 18, 19. I just started working and I just
uh
loved money. So I gave my comic books to my brother and I used to like collect like a lot of good comics. And he was a little bit younger, so he doesn't really take care of comic books like that.
uh
So it's just like
uh
as I'm like older now, I was like, wow, I could have just kept those comic books and you would have never known if they were worth anything or anything. Because I used to collect comic books like it was nothing, like all the time.
uh
And I gave it to him and he just didn't take care of them. Yeah. But
well, it's funny you mentioned that, because have you heard of Brandon Graham?
no.
He's an artist. He's also put out he also writes his own stuff.
Yeah.
He did a series, King City. He also wrote what probably is my favorite comic book of all time. It's a remake of Rob Liefeld's Prophet. I
Okay.
don't know if you ever read that. That was part of like the Youngblood image.
Yeah.
The among the first,
Yeah.
and Wildcats and Savage Dragon and all that, right?
Yeah.
So Rob Liefeld did Prophet. Then Brandon Graham took it and totally just reprised it, and just as far as comics as an art, I mean, it's freaking perfect. I
Yeah.
mean, it is a incredible series. He did it a couple years ago, but anyway, he's been on Instagram reading Tintin comics. I,
10, yes.
okay, man, you lit up. Okay, so you know Tintin.
Yeah.
So for me, growing up, that was my first exposure to comic books was
Okay.
Tintin. And my family's from India,
Hmm.
and my grandparents used to bring me back Tintin from India, and
Nice.
And so, you know, I saw him posting it, and I was like, oh man, I got him. You know, I still
Yeah.
got. They're beat up. I mean, it looks like your little brother took care of them. I mean, they're not
Yeah.
pristine. But I opened one of them up, and my little brother
Yeah.
must have taken a marker to them
Oh.
as a black marker all over it. So and those are old, man.
Yeah.
Those are probably from like 90, 91, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, now we'll call it a family heirloom.
Yeah. Of course. So, all right. So, how can the people contact you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, Matt Loisel, Twitter, same, Matt Loisel. Um, we have a website. Currently, I am not shipping out any comic books because we are in shelter in place.
Mm-hmm.
For anybody listening who is not aware of what's going on in the world, um, there's a thing called coronavirus.
Yeah.
You got to stay home. So instead of shipping people comic books, because I thought, you know, that's kind of an unnecessary risk, you know, for me and then for postal workers. And so kind of to encourage people to stay in and to maybe lighten the load of being stuck inside,
Mm-hmm.
we're currently offering digital copies of all three issues, issue 1, 2, and then we have a little mini comic 2.1, for 1 cent on our website. And
Nice.
that's collabcreations.bigcartel.com.
Okay.
And so, you know, believe me, people, I would make it free, but Big Cartel said I had to make it a penny. So you guys got to pay a penny. But I want to encourage people to, you know, stay in, and you know, I know it's hard. You know, it's, you know, we're social animals. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's what people are, and so, you know, it's been hard for a lot of people, and so I just wanted to help out and offer it for free, or for a penny for as long as, you know, as long as this thing's going, and I think this thing's gonna go
For a while, yeah.
for a while. Yeah.
But Matt, thanks. I really, really appreciate it. I really
Oh,
appreciate you
absolutely.
on. You can come on anytime if you want, like down the road, or if you're ever in Boston, which you probably won't be, you can um, but I really appreciate it. Any last words?
No, thank you. This has been an absolute blast. And if anybody is out there listening and they're trying to get set up, they're trying to get started, they
Mhm.
have questions, feel free, you know, DM me,
Oh, most definitely.
email me, matthew.l.comics@gmail.com. You know, I think, you know, I think, you know, we got to stick together, and, you know, and,
Facts, facts.
you know,
Really, he's a really friendly guy. Really, it was easy to have a conversation during the emails. It was good. It was cool. So
hey,
don't be afraid. Don't use that as an excuse to not email him.
right.
But thank you, man. I greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next week on Brothers After Dark. Thank you.